want to get your perspective on it since you were a narcotics officer. The world is just riddled with fentanyl right now, left and right. And every time I open up social media, there's these pages where it's just, I saw another video the other day where there's this guy filling up his gas tank and he hears his car coming. He hides behind his car and starts shooting over his car. Opposite gang found him, and there's shootout at a public gas station. There's other people around. You know, it's like this could have been a family pumping gas on the other side, right? Yeah. So what do you, in your perspective, view as more dangerous to American societies right now, the fentanyl or the gang violence, or is it directly correlated?
It's all connected. Drugs and guns are connected, and then the human element's there, right? The humans transport, the humans move things, the humans use the drugs. So all of it is just one giant connection. Where it starts to become more drug use is where it's the user end, right? So all these dudes that are in shootouts, that are fighting over these things, they play a different role in the narcotics realm, right? They're the transporters, they're the security dudes, they're the people that are making the moves to get it to a location where then it can just be used and abused by the world of narcotics use, right? Where the dudes using just the drugs, like all the hypes and the fiends, they're not out shooting at each other. They're just trying to figure out how to make a couple bucks to go get another bag, right? So it's a very different world. I think that's the intersecting middle ground. The young dudes trying to make a name for themselves, trying to make some money, trying to move a product, and they just run into other dudes who want the product, or that's the adversary. That's how they want to capitalize on, you did all the work, you drove it in from wherever, you're about to drop it off and get paid. I'm going to intercept all the work you just did, take your stuff, shoot you down, and now I have all the product that you worked so hard to start making a buck on, right?
It's like Scarface, yeah.
So all the violence happens in that in-between space.
Yeah.
The first initial big transport's covered and protected, and it gets to a location. When it starts moving into the streets, that's when the little dudes start intercepting each other, and that's where the street violence comes in. These dudes intercepting each other's movements, because by the time it gets to the dealer and the dealer pushes it to the people are just high. They just want another fix. They just want another dose.
Right.
They're not interested in who's shooting at each other for what. They're not going to come help their dealer in a shootout. They're just going to find another dealer. Right? Just like dudes who serve find other places to serve their dope if they run out of fiends. So they don't care if they're fiends. Obviously, it's bad business if your hypes die. So you try not to kill them, but sometimes there's moves where the doses are too high and there's like a wave of deaths. Chicago had a case like that.
It doesn't make sense to me why people are lacing everything with fentanyl if that's one of the most deadly things that you could lace.
It's super cheap.
Your buyers are dying, though. Do you want to retain customers?
A lot of it. So the dudes who are making it, right, and a lot of it's in Mexico with Chinese products, and they make it at the proper dosages, right? Or they make it in giant powder bats, or they make it in pre-crushed pills that you're supposed to get, break down, and if you're going to fuse it with something else, you're supposed to do the dosing correctly. What happens is these dudes aren't pharmacists, right? They don't know how pure some stuff is. They're just like, hey, you bought this fentanyl, here's your fentanyl. And it is like the most rock solid pure stuff you can get, and they put what they think is enough to just get somebody high, and it's a hot load. And I think just the dudes don't know how to cut properly, and so they're serving people too high of a dose, essentially killing their line of people purchasing their products. So I think it's an uneducated thing more than it is
they're not purposely trying to kill
let's kill our people. You would do that to your adversaries, and some movies get that right. You sell some hot stuff to somebody else, they kill off some of their people, and you even find out who your like secret fiends are, because there's dudes who are very professional. There's lawyers, there's attorneys, that's the same thing, right? There's lawyers, there's doctors, there's coaches and teachers. A lot of people hooked on a lot of drugs, and they perform their daily job like perfectly, right? Coke is one of those. Meth is another one of those. Like clean meth, there's a ton of meth addicts that are high-level professionals. We saw that a lot too with narcotics. When we were in different areas, it was different drugs in Chicago, right? So if you were working the west side, it was heroin and fentanyl. If you were more on the north side, you were dealing with meth. And so we've busted a bunch of dudes who were lawyers, and then they were just getting a bunch of meth. And it's just like, these dudes are like high-level dudes knowing that their careers are going to end by getting busted, but the drug was more important. And sometimes that's just how it is, man. So
Got you.
People will eliminate people not knowing they're doing it because they don't have the education on how to cut things properly. So that's my take. At least I think that's how it goes, because nobody wants to ruin their market, right?
Was there ever a side of you that felt that you were selling out or betraying your old self back when you were gang affiliated? Or was it like, would you ever be like, man, like the younger me would have been like, man, you're a sellout, whatever? Or was it like, I don't care what younger me would have thought, he's not as developed as I am now?
That's a great question. So I don't think that it was ever, I never saw it like that, because I never went after people I knew. I never tried to go find people that I had associated with.
Did they know that you were in
Yeah.
Chicago PD? They never give you a hard time about it?
No, there's ways where things post-military, everyone's like, all right, dude's gone. He did his thing. He's better.
That makes sense.
Good for him, right?
Yeah.
But if let's say if I came back, right, became a cop and started hunting down dudes that I was friends with, that's a whole different animal.
Yeah.
Right? That's asking for retaliation or hatred from people. I left everybody alone. I didn't mess with anybody that were, and not that if I saw you do something, I would address it, but I was never in an area where I had to deal with people that I knew from the past. So there was never any conflict of interest there. I never felt bad about it. And then I just never did anything that would disrespect or hurt anybody that I was friends with at some point. So